Welcome back to Random History. I'm your navigator as we explore the little-known events and people that make history such an amazing subject. The events I delve into are probably not the ones you learned about in school. These are the ones that when you do hear about them, you're likely to think that they could not possibly be real. But they are. When I was in middle school, there was an accident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. About the same time, there was a movie that came out called The China Syndrome. In fact, I looked it up. The movie came out about 10 or 12 days after the incident. People took the fictional events from the movie and conflated them with the accident at 3 Mile Island. It spawned a massive worldwide backlash against nuclear energy. There were all kinds of protests in Germany, the US, and elsewhere, demanding that governments and the UN end nuclear power. Then, just a few years later, when the disaster at Chernobyl in the USSR happened, that was just one more nail in the coffin of nuclear energy. People blamed the science, not what they should have blamed, at least in the case of Chernobyl. They should have blamed the garbage Soviet system that, like all communist systems, rewards conformity, not merit, incentivizes laziness and extremely poor work ethic. When all the workers were paid equally for the same amount of time worked and not for the quality of the job that is done, the system is going to devolve to the level of the worst worker. If the worker shows up drunk or does not do a quality job, they get paid the same amount as the most conscientious worker that only produces masterpieces. So of course, again, we reduce to the least common denominator. The reason this all comes up is because in the news in the last few weeks, there was a story about how 2 major high-tech companies are working to reopen at least one of the 3 Mile Island nuclear reactors, so one of them can use it to power its endeavors in AI, or artificial intelligence, and the other wants to start a nuclear reactor in Michigan to power its massive servers. Sticking with the nuclear theme, our true hero for today is a man that was working on the Manhattan Project during the Second World War, and after a slip in one of the labs, was exposed to potentially lethal doses of radiation. His quick thinking and action, however, saved the lives of all those nearby. Unfortunately, his actions also exposed him to a lethal dose of radiation. His willingness to sacrifice his own life to protect others makes him a true hero. The 3 Mile Island, or TMI, nuclear power plant situated near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is a pivotal site in the history of nuclear energy in the United States. Its story encapsulates the rise of nuclear power in the 20th century, the challenges faced by its operational period, and the profound impact of the 1979 incident that altered public perception and regulatory frameworks surrounding nuclear energy. Today's episode delves into the history of TMI from its construction in early years to the infamous accident and the plant's eventual restart. The decision to construct the 3 Mile Island plant was made in the context of increasing energy demands in the United States. In 1968, the Pennsylvania Power and Light Company, PP&L, announced plans for the facility, which consisted of 2 reactors, TMI-1 and TMI-2. Construction of TMI-1 began in 1968, and it became operational in 1974. TMI-2 followed, with construction being completed in 1978, and operations commencing shortly thereafter. The 2 TMI reactors were designed as pressurized water reactors, employing common technology in nuclear power generation. Initially, the plant was viewed as a significant step towards a more reliable and sustainable energy future. The reactors were equipped with numerous safety features reflecting the industry's commitment to secure nuclear operations. However, despite these measures, concerns about the safety and reliability of nuclear energy began to surface, especially as the first commercial plants experienced various operational issues. The pivotal moment in TMI's history occurred on 28 March 1979, when a series of malfunctions led to a partial meltdown of the TMI-2 reactor. The incident began with a failure in the secondary system that caused the plant's steam generator to malfunction. Consequently, operators attempted to manually shut down the reactor, but a combination of human error and equipment failures led to a loss of coolant, resulting in a significant temperature increase within the reactor core. In the ensuing chaos, operators failed to recognize the severity of the situation. The lack of adequate training and the plant's confusing control room layout contributed to a delay in the response to the crisis. By the time emergency systems were engaged, the core had been exposed, leading to the partial meltdown. Although the containment structures held and no immediate radiation was released into the environment, the event caused widespread panic among the local residents and raised alarms about the safety of nuclear power nationwide. The aftermath of the accident prompted an extensive review of nuclear safety protocols. The media covered the incident heavily, resulting in heightened public fear and skepticism regarding nuclear energy. Public opinion shifted dramatically, with many advocating for stricter regulations and oversight of nuclear facilities. It didn't help that the movie China Syndrome about a major nuclear accident and meltdown came out just a few weeks after the accident was made public. In the wake of the 3 Mile Island accident, the U.S. government and the nuclear industry faced intense scrutiny. Investigators revealed significant flaws in operational protocols and training. As a result, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission instituted sweeping changes to regulations governing nuclear power plants, emphasizing safety and operational training for plant personnel. One of the major reforms was the establishment of the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations, INPO, in 1979, an organization created to enhance the safety and reliability of nuclear power plants through training and operational oversight. INPO played a crucial role in the reshaping of the culture of nuclear operations, fostering a commitment to safety that has become fundamental in the industry. Moreover, the TMI incident prompted a nationwide reassessment of nuclear energy policies. The public outcry led to delays in the construction of new nuclear power plants and increased costs for existing facilities as additional safety measures were implemented. The federal government instituted rigorous licensing procedures, requiring plants to demonstrate compliance with the new safety standards before receiving operational approval. Despite the challenges following the accident, TMI-2 was eventually restarted in 1986 after extensive safety upgrades and modifications were completed. The decision to resume operations was not taken lightly. It involved careful assessments of the safety protocols and a renewed commitment to ensuring that such an incident would not occur again. Prior to the restart, the plant underwent significant renovations and enhancements, including the installation of advanced monitoring systems and improved training programs for personnel. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission conducted thorough evaluations to ensure all safety concerns were adequately addressed. The plant's restart marked a turning point in its operational history and demonstrated the industry's ability to learn from its past mistakes. After its restart, TMI 1 and 2 operated under stricter regulations, and both reactors continued to contribute to Pennsylvania's energy supply. TMI 1, which had been operational since 1974, remained a reliable energy source, while TMI 2, having resumed operation, faced ongoing scrutiny from regulators and the public. The plant continued in operation until 2019, when it was shuttered due to cost of maintaining the facility. The history of 3 Mile Island Nuclear Power Plant is a complex narrative of ambition, crisis, and recovery. The construction and early operation of TMI symbolized the promise of nuclear energy as a solution to the energy crisis of the 1970s. However, the 1979 accident exposed critical vulnerabilities in the nuclear industry, leading to a reevaluation of safety protocols and public perceptions. The eventual restart of the plant highlighted the nuclear industry's commitment to improving safety and operational standards. Despite the challenges it faced, TMI continued to serve as a reminder of the delicate balance between harnessing nuclear energy and ensuring public safety. As the world grapples with the pressing need for sustainable energy solutions, the lessons learned from the history of 3 Mile Island remain relevant in the ongoing dialogue surrounding nuclear power. Recently, the Microsoft Corporation and Constellation Energy began talks with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to reopen the shuttered plant by the year 2028. The plan calls for the over 800 megawatts of energy from one of 3 Mile Island's reactors to be exclusively used for powering the AI division of Microsoft. This would mark the first time a decommissioned nuclear power plant has been brought back online. In addition, it was just released that Google is in talks with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to open a nuclear power plant in Michigan to power its vast array of servers. Despite the problems, nuclear energy continues to be the cleanest source of energy without the harmful environmental impact of wind turbines and solar energy. Unfortunately, when things go wrong with nuclear energy, they can go wrong in a big way. The nuclear industry in the United States developed as a component of the Manhattan Project, the secret endeavor to develop the atomic bomb used to end World War II. The early nuclear power plants were used to develop the materials needed to fuel the splitting of the atom, releasing energy rivaling the sun. These materials were highly radioactive, and precautions needed to be taken to protect the scientists working on the project. One of the scientists working in Los Alamos, New Mexico on the Manhattan Project was Louis Slotin. He is today's true hero. Louis Slotin's heroism during the Manhattan Project stands as one of the most poignant examples of sacrifice in the field of scientific research. Slotin, a Canadian physicist working at Los Alamos National Laboratory, gave his life to protect his colleagues from a nuclear disaster. His fateful act of bravery on 21 May 1946 has become an enduring testament to the risks scientists took during the early days of atomic research. Slotin's story highlights the dangers of nuclear experimentation, the heroism that can emerge from these dangers, and the ethical considerations of science conducted under extreme pressure. Slotin was conducting an experiment known as tickling the dragon's tail, which involved bringing 2 hemispheres of beryllium shell close to a plutonium core to study the nuclear reactions. The experiment was inherently risky, and scientists at the time were well aware of the potential consequences. The core Slotin was working with had already caused a fatal accident months earlier, claiming the life of another scientist, Harry Daghlian, who had been exposed to a lethal dose of radiation. Despite the known dangers, Slotin continued his work. On that fateful day in 1946, as Slotin manipulated the beryllium spheres, a slight slip caused the core to reach criticality, emitting a dangerous burst of radiation. In an instant, Slotin recognized the severity of the situation. His quick reflexes and decision-making prevented the incident from escalating into a larger disaster. Slotin used his bare hands to separate the beryllium shells, stopping the chain reaction. This heroic act saved the lives of 7 of his colleagues who were present in the room. Unfortunately, Slotin absorbed a lethal dose of radiation in the process. The radiation exposure was so severe that he began showing symptoms almost immediately. Slotin was rushed to the hospital, where he experienced intense radiation sickness before dying 9 days later. Slotin's heroism lies not only in his quick action to prevent a wider catastrophe, but also in the fact that he understood the personal risk he was taking. After the incident, Slotin reportedly told one of his colleagues, "You'll be okay, but I'm done for." His acceptance of the consequences and selflessness in prioritizing the safety of others exemplify true heroism. In saving his colleagues, Slotin spared them from the immediate effects of the radiation, though many suffered from radiation-related illnesses in the years that followed. The legacy of Slotin's bravery remains significant not only in the history of the Manhattan Project, but also in the discussions about ethics of nuclear experimentation. Slotin's death, along with the other fatal accidents at Los Alamos, underscored the dangerous nature of working with radioactive materials and led to greater safety protocols in nuclear research. The accident also prompted reflections on the moral responsibilities of scientists working with hazardous technologies. Slotin's willingness to risk his life for others serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost behind scientific advancement and the sacrifices made by individuals in the pursuit of knowledge. Slotin's heroism during the Manhattan Project reflects the bravery of those who worked under dangerous conditions, risking their lives for the greater good. His actions on that tragic day in May of 1946 saved his colleagues, but they also cast a spotlight on the ethical dilemmas faced by scientists in the nuclear age. This brings us to the end of another episode of Random History. I hope you enjoyed it and will come back and listen to future episodes. If you'd like to view the transcript or sources for this episode, click on the link in the description. You can also make suggestions for future topics by clicking on that same link. Until next time, make some history of your own. Navigator out.